What's up, family? It's the one and only Astro Boo, baby. Happy New Year's to you all. Happy New Year's. We made it one more year, one more opportunity, one more time and chance to change our collective reality. One heart, one mind, one light at a time. That rhymes. I like that. But anyway, I want to take this time to thank all of my new subscribers, and please, if you've subscribed to my channel, please go back and check your subscription box, because I'm finding more and more that people are subscribing to my channel, but it is not sticking. Or there are those who have subscribed and the subscription is unsticking without them making a conscious effort to do so. Again, I thank you all so much for your subscription and your continued support. It really means a lot. Now, the next thing that I want to point out is that the calibration level, those of us who are reaching a 1,000 calibration level, has greatly increased since my last report. The last report, I believe it was about 1,500 who had achieved a 1,000 calibration level. According to my read now, there are over 10,000. This is a huge leap in a very short amount of time. Over 10,000 people on the planet who have achieved or who have reawakened to a 1,000 calibration level. This is causing a collective, massive shift in consciousness, and it's causing many of us to wake up or begin to question our paradigm or become more sensitive or aware of what is going on. Now, I'm always talking about the mind and how fluid reality is. Why do I do this? Because we are building and creating our reality based on our belief, our genetic codes, our fears, our thoughts. All of those things create a web, a weave. Hence, we all reap what we sow. If you can imagine light particles weaving and bobbing in between and intertwining and your DNA projecting codes and information into the ether, that is creating a tapestry of information that we are all ultimately responsible for. So it begins with the mind. If we believe a certain thing, chances are we're going to either align ourselves with a reality that's already being co-created along those lines, or we are going to create a reality that supports this. Why am I pointing this out too? Is because as more of us wake up and reach these higher calibration levels, you're going to see an increase of the fear-mongering. You're going to see an increase of the chaos. This is done unconsciously by those who are not awakened, but who are under the influence of those who are service to self. And then you have the other aspect of it, those of us who are in a lot of fear, feeding into the doomsday, fear-mongering program. How many times must we hear someone coming forth and claiming to be given a vision or God giving them information that the world was going to end on a specific time and date? The prediction of the world ending has been put out there thousands of times, but the world is still here. However, there are individuals every day and even as we speak whose world come to an end. Why? Because this is a part of the cycle. We come here to have an experience for a temporal moment and it's over. So the world comes to an end from our individual perspective at different timelines, and no one even knows that. So how in the world could someone come forth and say they can tell you the world is going to end for everyone on a particular date? You know, there are a lot of doomsday, apocalyptic type videos and information being pushed out there, and a lot of these people who are doing this, they mean well, but I would pay particular attention to those who come forth to say that God has told them that the world is going to end on this date or that date. Who are these gods that these people are presenting this information, what God is presenting this information and is showing to be wrong or inaccurate time and time and time again. There's some very clever beings who are far more advanced than most of us are presently in this timeline, who can present themselves as a being who would appear godlike, who can plant visions and ideas in an impressionable mind, in a mind of one who is asleep, the mind of one who is in great terror and fear to begin with. Now, the evidence of this is very, very plentiful. When you look at how many times someone has said the world is going to end, for hundreds of years, there's always been someone to come forth and say, God told them the world is going to end on this date. This is how and why you can have a catastrophic event happen in the same time and space, and some people seem to get through it unscathed while others are swept away by it. Again, let's bring it back to a matter of perception, individual perception. Those who align themselves or ourselves with a doomsday scenario may well be somewhere where there's a natural event such as an earthquake. From their perspective, the world is coming to an end or will end if they so happen to physically perish in that event. Whereas those who have a more optimistic point of view, a more positive, more harmonic point of view, who is not wrapped in it, deeply entrenched with fear, have a greater possibility or trajectory to not be affected by that particular paradigm or that creation. So the power of the mind is knowing your power, being in control of your power, aligning your power with the reality that you wish to create or co-create. Because I will say it time and time again, reality is far more fluid than we perceive. This is why I talk about this world being an illusion. I'm not saying that the experiences that we're having are not real, but our perception of one another, physicality, what we are told by so-called systems of authority is not, for the most part, what it appears to be. As solid and as fixed as our lives appear to be from our perspective, that is an illusion. It is a holographic projection. Your mind is telling you that this is what it is. Your brain is not your consciousness. Your brain is a processor, and it filters information. It edits out possibilities if we are so programmed to be that way. It could also embrace and manipulate, if that is so our choice, or create what it is that we wish to see. Now, why is this being done? Why are people constantly fed visions and ideas of doomsday and catastrophic events and chaos? When it's all said and done, you trace who benefits the most from this. Does humanity benefit from this as a whole? Of course not. So we must start looking at who is benefiting the most from this fear-mongering machine on a physical, interdimensional level. And many of us are already there. Those of us who are attracted to this kind of information, many of us already understand this. And there are those of us who are just starting to get it. But we must always look at who's benefiting. My heart aches and hurts when I see other people suffering. But there are those who benefit from that. They lack empathy. They lack compassion. They don't care. That's why they're called servants to self in their orientation. They're disconnected. They cannot feel and understand that although that person may appear to look different from them, that person is them. They're connected to that person. But this is the grand illusion of the ego. The ego, on one hand, is a good thing, but an inflated, out of control ego is very, very powerful and very destructive. And there are those of us in physical form who are very disconnected and inflated in ego, and then you have those who are interdimensional, who benefit from the destruction and the chaos and the confusion and the fear and the terror that these things create. As the old saying goes, it is mind over matter. Our mind shapes and influence matter. But there's another side to those of us who may have these visions of danger or some vision of cataclysms. This very well may be your higher mind giving you a warning based on your current trajectory, or shall I say in this case, your current projection. And when we receive information or vision or warning like this, it's not there for us to just sit back and wallow in it. We need to stop and examine, okay, what am I doing to put me in this path? That this is something that I do not want. I need to change course. I need to change my trajectory. This is where we need to sit still and meditate and seek the answers to what we need to do. Again, those of us who are operating in the fear, dogmatic, doomsday, gloom and doom paradigm, it's basically, oh, I give up, we're screwed, you might as well just lay down and just let it happen. Or those of us who are proactive in saying, you know what, I want to change this trajectory, I want to change this paradigm, so I'm going to begin doing better for myself and do more to help my fellow brothers and sisters in the world. I'm going to get out and, in effect, make positive changes in politics, in education. I'm going to do my part to see that everyone is given a fair shot in life, because when you know better, you begin to do better, and it starts with the mind. Those who have an issue with people putting focus on improving and changing the way we think in the mind, it's not understanding that we can't change anything until we change the self first. We must become and be the change that we want to see first and foremost. We must be the change or become the change that we want to see. And it starts with the mind, because mind shapes matter, and we begin influencing the collective whole. So you see, I've given you two possibilities as to where these visions that we receive could be coming from. Either from outside influence and the fear-mongering machine, or it could be a genuine vision from the higher, non-physical aspect of your consciousness that is showing you or giving a warning of a potential possibility. Either way, we still have a choice in the matter. Now, what I find, or what I'm finding, is that those of us who get a vision, who's not running around and operating in fear and playing into the fear-mongering machine, those of us who get visions like that are more apt to be getting a genuine feed of a possibility, versus those of us who are in this doomsday, dogmatic way of programming. You guys may see it differently, but the mind is very powerful. It is a scientific fact now. I'm not talking about the old science. I'm talking about the new science, who are showing with scientific evidence that we are part of a much, much greater system, and that reality is not, or what we perceive to be a fixed reality isn't really fixed. Nothing is really solid. I've been saying this for a very long time now. And that consciousness is not in the brain. We exist, we will always exist in some form or another. Will we always exist as the person we know today, and the personality and race and all this crap that we put so much stock into? No. But will we always exist? Yes. Because consciousness is not in the body. Consciousness is filtered through and experienced through these physical vessels, and physically interact within this dimensional realm, which is bound by its own laws and physics. When we're done here, the physical body goes back to the earth. You know, everything that we are physically is recycled, but our energetic patterns and our consciousness is therefore shifted into a different or another paradigm. Usually we fall in alignment with what we created. We are the sum total of everything that we've been, and we will create the sum total of what we are from this point forward. Okay, now I'm going to switch gears, but just a little bit. So many of you guys are writing and asking, Astro Boo, why are my dreams so detailed and so long and drawn out now? Well, that's because you're dreaming now in a different or higher dimensional realm. Your consciousness has expanded and shifted. This is a sign, a good sign, that your awareness is expanding. The same is true for those of us who are astral projectors. We notice that our experiences are more heightened. For instance, my recent astral projection experiences are more like things shifting at rapid speed, one frame at a time all around me. Whereas before, it was more fluid. And I'm also noticing the colors. Everything is more vivid and more intense now more than ever. And in the new paradigm in which I find myself when I'm astral projecting, I seem to lose all sense of the physical body. Whereas before, I could kind of sense my physical body. Dreams are real. They're either giving us information about ourselves, or we are creating within that reality or sharing a reality with someone else. So when someone says, oh, it's just a dream, you tell them, well, you know what? If it was a dream, then it's real. It may not be real in the 3D way in which we've been programmed to believe, but our dreams are real, even more so real than this. Because as you notice in your dream state, you're not focused on, status and race and money and all this stuff. The ego is asleep when we're in our dream state. This is why we're able to create and manifest and experience things that seem supernatural or impossible. Now, let me repeat that. In our dream state, the ego is asleep, and this is how and why we can do things that would seem supernatural. And this is the challenge for us here on the physical realm. Can we manifest and get to that level of consciousness and awareness and blend it in our physical reality? Can we do it? Some of us can and some of us will not. It's just the cycle, the way it is. So many times when I do my videos and I'm saying terms like we, I would like to be speaking to everyone who finds my video, but I know everyone will not get it. I'm speaking to those who feel the resonance, who connect, who had the experience, which is their evidence of what I speak to be truthful. And speaking of which, a good friend of mine had texted me about a week ago telling me about one of the most famous guys on YouTube whose niche is comedy. I believe his name is Shane Dawson. Some of you guys may have heard of him, and some of you guys may already know where I'm going. My friend texted me and said this guy on YouTube who has a huge following, he has like millions of subscribers, he took a break from his normal to do a video talking about being abducted by aliens, or what he perceived to be an alien abduction. By the way, I'm going to put this person's video link in the description box for those of you who may be interested in checking out his experience. And so he told me, hey, why don't you check it out? This is really going to blow the lid off of the things you've been talking about. So I checked out the video. And this individual tried to put a little humor behind it, but he was really giving an honest perception and testimony of something that he has experienced before, but this time he was perceiving a visitation as an alien abduction. He also had a spontaneous out-of-body experience. Now, when you have someone who has millions of followers taking a break away from comedy to talk about something like this, and he describes it identical to the hundreds of thousands who posted comments on his video. This is just blowing this thing to just blowing the lid off of this thing and taking it to another level. And of course, you're going to have people who are still saying, oh, you were hallucinating. It was a lucid dream. It was your imagination. But you know what? The truth of the matter is we cannot imagine something that does not exist. In order to imagine anything, you have to have a frame of reference. Okay? Nothing is new under the sun. It can't say it enough. You can't say hundreds of thousands and millions of people since ancient times, because we know that our ancient ancestors had these same kind of experiences and these visions. You can't say all of these people and all of these situations are the result of hallucination and fantastical imaginary mind. All of us cannot be hallucinating and imagining the exact same kind of things, the exact same kind of beings, the exact same kind of experiences. Again, that is a 3D way of trying to explain something that the current state of understanding or mind programming just cannot accept or cannot decode. But those of us who transcend the programming and beliefs and fear and terror, we know what it is. We feel what it is. We know it's real. We don't need to prove or validate that to those who have not awakened or reawakened to this fact of matter. And the fact of the matter is that life and consciousness and reality is far more fluid, far more complex, far more layered than we can begin to even imagine. And on that note, I'm going to bring this one to a close. Thank you guys so much for your attention and your continued support. And those who have been asking about the book is still on the table, but it has been put on hold. There's some circumstantial situations going on with that, and I've decided that I will not talk about the book anymore until it is ready to be released. And as always, you are loved beyond measure. Continue to question, learn, and grow. And happy travels.